If you think the 2026 World Cup will be just another story about Argentina, France, or Brazil, then you might be missing the most interesting part. Because the history of the World Cup has never been the history of what people predicted. It has always been the history of surprises. In 2002, nobody expected South Korea to reach the semi-finals. In 2014, nobody imagined Brazil would lose by 7 goals on home soil. In 2018, few believed Croatia would make it to the final. And in 2022, very few thought Argentina could lose to Saudi Arabia in their opening match and still go on to become world champions. That is the World Cup. A place where logic often dies before emotion. A place where the biggest stars on the planet sometimes become ordinary, and where underdogs turn into nightmares for the rest of the world. The 2026 World Cup is approaching, the biggest World Cup in history. For the first time, 48 national teams will participate, 3 host nations, more matches, more stars, and more surprises. But if you ask me, as someone who has watched football for more than 20 years, which 5 national teams are the most exciting to watch at the 2026 World Cup, I won't look only at the rankings. I won't look only at squad values. I'll look at something more important, the ability to create emotions, the ability to make millions of people wake up at 3 a.m. to watch, the ability to make the whole world talk. And the first team on my list is probably the most controversial one. Argentina. That may sound strange because many people believe that after winning the 2022 World Cup and the Copa America, and after everything Lionel Messi has given them, Argentina should be entering a decline. But the reality may be the exact opposite. And that's what makes them fascinating. Argentina is no longer completely dependent on Messi. That is a huge difference. For nearly 20 years, whenever people talked about Argentina, they talked about Messi. Messi scored, Messi created, Messi carried the team, Messi saved the team. Messi was at the center of every story. But the 2026 World Cup could be the first tournament in which Argentina arrives with a completely different mentality. No longer obsessed with helping Messi win a World Cup, no longer forced to build everything around him, no longer carrying that psychological burden. And sometimes, that's exactly what makes a team more dangerous. Julian Alvarez is maturing, Alexis Mac Allister is entering his prime, Enzo Fernandez is reaching the best years of his career. Christian Romero is eager to prove himself. A new generation is taking shape, not as expensive as England, not as artistic as Brazil, but incredibly difficult to play against. This is the kind of team you never want to face in the knockout rounds. Because they know how to win, they know how to suffer, and most importantly, they know how to survive. But Argentina may not even be the most intimidating team, because the next team is the one that truly intrigues me. France. I know many people are tired of hearing about France because they seem to be contenders in every major tournament. But look closer. The 2026 World Cup could mark the absolute peak of Kylian Mbappe's career, and that's the real story. Mbappe in 2018 was a wonder kid. Mbappe in 2022 was a superstar. But Mbappe in 2026 could be a king, a player entering the perfect age, experienced enough, still incredibly fast, still hungry, and most importantly, still unsatisfied. Many people think Mbappe has already achieved everything. But he hasn't. He still wants to become the best player in the world. He still wants to step out of the shadows of Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. He still wants to build his own legacy. And the World Cup is the biggest stage of all. What makes France exciting isn't simply their strength. Everyone already knows they're strong. What makes them fascinating is that they could become the first national team since Spain to truly dominate world football for an extended period. However, France also carries a major challenge, a challenge that few people talk about. When you have too many stars, you also have too many egos. And football history has shown that the strongest team doesn't always win. The most united team often does. Can France overcome themselves? Or will they once again fall victim to internal pressures? What makes them fascinating is that they could become the first national team since Spain to truly dominate world football for an extended period. However, France also carries a major challenge, a challenge that few people talk about. When you have too many stars, you also have too many egos. And football history has shown that the strongest team doesn't always win. The most united team often does. Can France overcome themselves? Or will they once again fall victim to internal pressures? That question alone makes me eager to watch them. But if I had to choose the most exciting team of the 2026 World Cup, the next name might be the one that excites me the most. Spain. Not because they have the most expensive squad, not because they possess the biggest superstar on the planet, but because they represent a revolution, a new generation, a new style of football, a new future for the sport. We once knew the Spain of Xavi, Iniesta, David Villa, and Sergio Busquets, a team that made the world chase the ball, a team that turned possession football into an art form. But time passed. That golden generation grew old. Their dominance faded. Spain went through difficult years. Many people even believed their era was over. But the truth is that Spain never died. They were simply rebuilding. And the 2026 World Cup may be the moment the world finally realizes it. Just look at the players they have. Lamine Yamal, Nico Williams, Pedri, Gavi, Pau Cubarsí. A generation that is frighteningly young. They are not just talented. They play with extraordinary confidence. What makes this Spanish team special isn't just technical ability. It's courage. They dare to dribble. They dare to attack. They dare to take risks. They play football like kids on a street pitch. That's something modern football often lacks. And that's why Spain has become one of the most exciting teams to watch. Because they can produce the craziest matches, the most explosive moments, the purest emotions. But if Spain represents the future, the next team is a paradox. A team that always inspires hope and always finds a way to disappoint. England. Perhaps no national team in the world carries more contradictions. Every World Cup, every European Championship, fans hear the same familiar phrase, football is coming home. Yet somehow, the trophy always ends up somewhere else. The strange thing is that England has never lacked talent. In fact, they currently possess one of the most valuable squads in world football. Jude Bellingham, Bukayo Saka, Declan Rice, Harry Kane. That list would make any manager jealous. But football has never been just about names, it's about character. And that's exactly why England is so interesting. Not because they're strong, but because we want to know whether they can overcome their own curse. Can this generation achieve what Beckham, Gerrard, Lampard, and Rooney could not? Will this finally be the year England stops living on hope? Or will they once again become the tournament's greatest disappointment? The more talent you have, the greater the pressure. And pressure is the most dangerous opponent at a World Cup. But if we're talking about emotion, if we're talking about stories, if we're talking about curiosity, then the final team on this list is truly special. Portugal. Because this could be the first World Cup in which Cristiano Ronaldo is no longer the center of everything. Think about it. For more than 20 years, Portugal has meant Ronaldo. He has been the symbol, the leader, the man carrying the expectations of an entire nation. But football cannot defeat time. And the 2026 World Cup may mark the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter in which Portugal must learn how to live without depending on the greatest player in their history. And that's what makes them fascinating, not because of Ronaldo, but because of those who will follow him. Rafael Leão, Vitinha, João Neves, Nuno Mendes, Gonçalo Ramos, a generation of talent quietly coming of age. What's interesting is that Portugal today may not have a superstar bigger than Ronaldo, but they are more balanced, more complete, more unpredictable. And sometimes, a team that doesn't depend on one individual is even more dangerous. That's why I want to watch Portugal at the 2026 World Cup. Not to see how Ronaldo's story ends, but to see how Portugal's next story begins. And that brings us back to the original question. Which are the 5 most exciting teams to watch at the 2026 World Cup? Argentina, France, Spain, England, Portugal. But here's a fascinating truth. The most exciting team is not always the team that wins. The World Cup has never followed logic. If it did, Brazil would have won even more titles. England would have won more than one. France might have dominated an entire decade. But the World Cup is about emotions, pressure, moments. One mistake, one shot, one red card, and everything can change. That's why we love the World Cup. Not because we know who will win, but because nobody knows what will happen. Maybe one of the 5 teams we've discussed today will lift the trophy. Or maybe the champion will be a nation that hardly anyone is talking about right now. Because football loves stories like that. And that is the greatest beauty of the beautiful game. So what about you? Which team are you most excited to watch at the 2026 World Cup? Argentina, France, Spain, England, or Portugal? Leave your opinion in the comments below. And who knows? Maybe your comment today will turn out to be a prediction of the 2026 World Cup champion. And now, if you love football with emotion and want to understand football through facts, don't forget to subscribe to The GOAT so you won't miss the most compelling stories, the most unique perspectives, and our countdown journey to the 2026 World Cup. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.